Hi guys! So recently, Jennifer from Next Tech English and myself completed a series on small talk. Last week, we did a video chat with Alberto Alonso from the show with no name. And this week, we're going to be talking with Shanthi from English with a Twist. I am so excited to have her here today. I can honestly say that Shanthi's blog is one of the best business English blogs there is, so we are very lucky today. Shanthi, thank you so much for taking the time to come chat.
Well, no, thank you to you for that wonderful introduction and for inviting me here. We finally get to meet, so it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I have to say, you're doing a wonderful job too on your blog.
Oh, thank you so much. Coming from you, that's music to my ears. So, why do you think it's so important for students to learn and get good at making small talk in English?
I mean, first of all, I think small talk is important for all of us, not just, even in our own native language. I mean, small talk is what brings people together. Then, at the end of the day, business, when I was thinking about this, business is about people. People do business with people, and they do business with people they like.
Yeah.
In all the years that I was at work, I was a client relationship manager in the investment world. And of course, that meant that I had to develop the relationships with my clients, nurture those relationships. And, you have to develop that. You have to take the time. Most of us, if we're in business, if we're in a business where we are looking to provide a service, we're looking to provide, even if you have a product, you're developing your business, you're growing your business, but you have a customer base. So you need to develop that conversation with them. Now, if you're doing this one-to-one, you have to do that, and people will do business with the people they like. You could have the best product in the world, but if the person in front of you is not someone you like or that you can trust, then they're not going to buy from you. They're not going to seek your advice and that sort of thing. So, and the relationship comes from you finding out a bit about also themselves, about them and each other, and developing a rapport where you then start the conversation and then ultimately that business relationship.
Yes.
So part of the small talk with business is not just what to say and how to say it and what topics to talk about, but it's also being sensitive to the cultures you're working with and almost taking the signals from them. So it's always very much like, it's interesting how you say in South Africa, so joking and sort of having fun is an important part of it.
Yes.
Some cultures would find it weird.
Yeah.
And so it depends on where you are. If you're the guest, then you need to accommodate your host, whoever it is that's, with their cultures and that's, and then just following what they do.
Yeah, exactly. Jennifer and I did focus quite a lot on, we were trying to, discover the cultural differences between various countries and their small talk. So, Shanthi, you have extensive experience, so I would like to ask you for some advice for students. So, many students, they practice their small talk and they try their best, but when it comes time to actually step out and make small talk, many of them feels too scared to say anything or do anything, and they miss a good opportunity to make small talk and build a relationship. What would you advise students to have, or how can they get more confidence, to have the confidence to actually engage in small talk in English?
I try and turn it around, because when people go, I'm nervous, I don't know what to say. I try and dig deeper and I try and ask them, do you naturally like small talk? Because if you don't, then we have two layers that we need to get over. There's that, how could you, if you don't enjoy small talk, but in our lives we all engage. So what do you do in your own language to overcome that?
Yes.
And I've found that if you are naturally curious, you're still interested, because introverts, if you're an introvert, you're still curious, you're interested in people, but you just don't want to have the spotlight on you. So ask people the questions. And even if the questions, they don't have to be perfect English.
Yeah, of course.
That, if there are some things that you're interested in asking them, perhaps it's, books they've read, or, whatever the topic they want to be talking about. And it all depends, again, on your scenarios and, in what scenarios you're going to be. For example, if you're at a conference and you are in the networking event within that conference and you're meeting people, there are going to be certain common conversation pieces. Typically, you're in the industry, you share the same industry, could be the same thing. So you could be asking, is this the first time in the conference, or, where you're from, if it is an international conference. So there are some questions, and it's almost like saying to clients, how I say to clients is, well, what do you want to find out about that person?
Yeah.
Are you naturally curious about them? Okay, so then the questions you ask them, they start answering. So you are not the one who has to come up with all the language.
Yes.
You're just listening. And being an active listener is a great, part of being a good small talker.
Yes.
Because you are actively listening, you're nodding, you're, and then you can pick up what they say. And if they say something, you go, that's interesting. So I like to try and turn it around. If that's what worries them, then do the listening part. Don't do the speaking. So I take it in different scenarios of thinking, well, what is it that really bothers you about small talk? Everyone comes up with the usual, the language. Forget the language, because the language is a medium for you to do small talk. I want to know, do you like it in your own language?
Yes.
What is it you don't like? Blah, blah. And then we try and break it down and then use English. Because you don't have to be perfect in English. You just have to be able to communicate. And communication is not just about having the language, the word. It's also being able to engage the other person into speaking, inviting them to speak.
Yes.
And then you sit back, listen to them, and then react to what they are saying. And it's easy almost to react to them. Some people say, I'm afraid I might not understand. You can ask them, okay, or did I mean this? So then there are different ways you can, it's developing what it is exactly that are the real problems people have with small talk.
You're back, no problem. Okay, yeah, no, that's truly excellent advice. I couldn't agree with you more. Getting down to the root of the problem and then building up from there. And not allowing students to just rely on claiming a language barrier, but to build it up past that and use English as the medium. I tend to find that students fail to make the conversation circular. And so they answer your question without bringing the conversation back to the questioner. And when they train too often with an English coach, we are always the ones asking the question. We want to know their answers. And then when they're in the real situation of small talk, they end up forgetting or failing to actually ask the questioner a question back. And so it becomes a very one-way questions, where one person is doing all the questioning and the student is just answering. It makes it very difficult for the other party to make small talk, and it can start to become awkward.
Yeah. I mean, and we've all had that in real life too, right? I mean, you're in the middle of chit-chatting and you're engaging, and this other person just doesn't want to engage in small talk, and they just don't want to have a chat with you, and they're just giving you these monosyllabic answers, and you just think, oh, well, this is a joy. And then you have to find a way to do it. Yes, with the students, where I think that fear of oh no, I don't know what to ask.
Yeah.
People get so worried about, oh, what topics am I
Yeah.
going to talk about? Okay, does help that, okay, I'm curious as a person. But if you're someone who's curious, and I think this is where that curiosity has to overcome any fears you might have.
Yes.
If you're genuinely interested in the people you're talking to, if you're genuine, okay, there are going to be bad days and good days, right? There are times when you're tired.
Yeah.
You've gone to this party or you've gone to the networking event, you've had a hard day. You really don't want to engage. Fine, there are ways you can just keep the conversation short and then excuse yourself. But if you're engaging in different situations, then to me, it's pick the hobbies that you're interested in. And do you want to find out if they share the same? Maybe it could be like, what's the latest book you're reading, or what's the best book you ever read, or what was the last film you went to see? So I think also trying to surprise people with different questions rather than thinking, oh, I must ask them all the typical generic questions we have. And so I push my clients. I go, no, think, what do you genuinely want to know about this person? And then if you do want to know them, find that language, because you'll find the language, and then ask them in English. Right? And that gets, as soon as you're interested in the person in front of you or the people around you, the language comes, because it becomes more the fact that you're trying to find out about the person, you're not worrying about the language. And for me, this is what I've always tried to instill in my clients is, don't keep thinking, oh, small talk in English, my vocabulary. No, that shouldn't be the problem. That what you should be thinking about, I've got this person in front of me. I want to find out. I have to do business with this person. I know this, I need to engage with them. Let me find a way to get them engaged so that my end result, they'll sign the contract.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. That's just such fantastic advice, to take your focus away from the English, take your focus away from fears of vocabulary or phrases or what English topics you know, and in fact just to focus on curiosity and an end goal of getting the other person to engage with you. And if you focus on that, your brain will give you the words you need. And even if they come out not 100% correct, that's completely okay. That's beside the point.
Come on,
the point is not to be perfect, but to engage and to elicit and build a relationship.
And there's no such thing as perfect English. I think there's another fellow teacher who's written up about, for example, South Africans. We have South Africans, we got Bajans. When I've been to Barbados, because my brother-in-law is Bajan, they speak English, they're native speakers of English. But, half the time when they're speaking, I don't understand a word they're saying, because we have different ways. We're using different language, but we can still communicate. There is still a way of communicating. So for me, it's get away from this perfect language. Your end goal should be, this is what I want to find out. And now I'm going to find a way to find out.
Shanthi, I could speak to you all day for hours and hours. You're just so wonderful to chat to. But just to wrap up this small talk interview, I would like to say thank you so much. So for any students who want to know more about Shanthi and her book, definitely the Small Talk book, Small Talk to Go, you can read more all about Shanthi and her book and her blog in all of the information below. So go check her out. It's amazing. Then that's it for Small Talk. So thank you.